I'm Jean Nolte, editor at Fons Porter.
And I'm Colleen Tuckey. I'm the sewing specialist at Fons Porter. In this tutorial, we'll show you how to make the blocks for Turquoise Treasures.
This is a quilt that started with 10-inch squares and a background fabric. So the first thing you're going to do with your 10-inch squares is cut all of them in half so that you have 5-inch by 10-inch rectangles. Then you'll also cut 5 by 10-inch rectangles of your background fabric. Now we need to mark a diagonal sewing line or 2 diagonal sewing lines on these, and we're going to use our 1/4-inch seam marker. And we're going to place that so that it goes from corner to corner. That yellow line will go right through the corners.
This is a little bit more unorthodox because normally we would be marking across a square. On this, it's a rectangle. So realize, just worry about that center line of the marker, that it's right at the corners.
Now, if you don't have this 1/4-inch seam marker, you could just draw one line from corner to corner and then another line on each side of that line 1/4 inch away.
Right.
So we're going to mark half of our rectangles like that, and the other half of our rectangles the opposite direction. So you notice some go from left to right and some go from right to left. So half each direction. Very important. So now we're ready to stitch those together. So we're going to show you ones we have already lined up. So you'll take one of your print rectangles and your background rectangle. You're going to just match up the corners. So it's going to be funny, you know,
usually you're putting things perfectly together, rectangle to rectangle. Here it's an offset one direction. So
you'll have
you're doing it right.
some that look like that and some that look like this, but the points exactly match up. And then what you're going to do is stitch, as you can see we've done, on both of those lines. So you'll have some that go each direction. And that's really all you need to do to make the components for this quilt.
Yeah,
so what we're going to do next is just cut right between those stitching lines. I like to use a ruler and rotary cutter because it's faster for me, but you could use scissors.
It's a long line, so a rotary cutter works pretty good in this time.
I'll just put the 1/4-inch line of the ruler right on that stitching line. And you're going to see that when you open these up, we have rectangles. So now
sort of. They're still a little bit funky.
Yeah. And you'll see we've got some here that are already done.
We've pressed these, so now you can see that they have kind of tails on the corners.
They're pressed toward the darker or the print fabric, and now we need to trim these so that they're 4.5 inches wide and 8 1/4 inches tall. But you can't just start at one corner. So I would recommend that you first trim one of the long sides. You just need to trim that tiny little bit off, and then measure to make sure it's 4.5 inches, which it should be.
If your piecing is good and you've marked well.
And again,
you should have a 4.5 inch.
You're just trimming basically that little corner off of there. Now we're ready to trim the 8 1/4 inches. And what you want to do here is find the spot where this is 1/4 inch wide and put that line. Oops, need 4.5.
Okay, double check yourself. Always count 1, 2, 3, 4 1/2, so you know you're in the right spot.
So you're going to put that so that right here where there's 1/4 inch is on the edge of that blue, and trim there. And we're going to flip it around, and now you put the 8 1/4 inch line there, and you'll notice right here where the tan meets the blue is also 1/4 inch wide.
What we're looking at here is this diagonal coming into a 1/4 inch seam from both directions should be your point. Some of us worry about points, others don't, but if you're worried about points, think about where that comes into the intersection.
And then you do the same with these, and then
all the pieces.
With the ones that go the other direction, and then you're just ready to lay them out in rows and join your rows, and your quilt top will be finished.
Thanks for joining us today.
To see more of our video tutorials, go to our website.